Right at the beginning of the Barbie movie, a girl breaks a baby doll and throws it away, much like the ape does with a bone in the famous 2001: A Space Odyssey by Stanley Kubrick, made 55 years ago. This could have been just a fun fact about cinematic references, but here's the question: is it true that dolls have existed since prehistoric times, as the creators of Barbie suggest? Why did people make dolls? And why are there so many eerie stories about dolls, like the Annabelle story or the Robert doll? Let's delve into the skeletons in the closet that these little lifeless human replicas hold. It can be confidently stated that people have been playing with dolls since the time of the pharaohs. You might ask, how do we know that? Well, of course, from tombs. The so-called paddle dolls were excavated in Egyptian tombs dating back to the 21st century BC. Their bodies were made of wood, while their hair was crafted from clay beads. To decipher the identity of these paddle dolls, researchers had to conduct a thorough investigation. The first suspect was the fertility goddess Isis, but the evidence pointed elsewhere. The majority of these dolls were found in the area of Thebes, where the primary cult was centered around the goddess Hathor. Small rhythm instruments, similar to castanets, were discovered alongside the dolls. The tattoos on the mummies of former priestesses of Hathor perfectly matched the patterns on the dolls. There was no doubt left. These paddle dolls depicted earthly priestess dancers of the Hathor cult, not the goddess herself. It can be said that dolls portraying independent women with their own professions, much like Barbie dolls, appeared earlier than any other type of dolls. What kind of doll is this, with no moving arms or legs like Barbie, you might ask, and you would be correct. The oldest dolls with movable arms and legs were found in the children's tombs of ancient Greece dated back to 200 BC. They were also discovered in the children's tombs of ancient Rome dated back to 100 BC. Let's move on from the dark stories about dolls found in tombs to dolls that are sent there. You probably immediately pictured a voodoo doll, into which sorcerers stick pins. But a real voodoo cult has nothing to do with that. That doesn't mean dolls for cursing people are a fabrication. In England, in the small village of Boscastle, in the Museum of Witchcraft and Magic, you can see one of them. It was created in medieval Europe. You had to place a hair or a nail of your enemy into the clay figurine, after which you could confidently stick pins into it and send curses. Among the ancient Slavs, however, it was not dolls for cursing that were widespread, but protective dolls. The Slavs, while creating such dolls, performed special rituals to ensure that these dolls protected their owners and the entire house from the evil eye. But if Slavic traditions almost disappeared with the adoption of Christianity, then among the Hopi Native American tribe, the custom of carving special Kachina dolls from cottonwood has survived to this day. According to Hopi beliefs, these dolls are inhabited by the spirits of ancestors, and they will protect the house. However, if the homeowner displeases such a spirit, they can bring trouble to the inhabitants. It's possible that these Native Americans' beliefs gave rise to numerous myths about hunting dolls. Stories about Annabelle and the doll Robert are quite similar. In them, dolls can move, watch people, and even attempt to harm or kill. Sometimes dolls are made to literally replace people. According to Sharia law, public dances, especially for women, are strictly prohibited. But what Muslim women cannot do, dolls can. That's why in Iran, you can see the dancing doll Layla. The name of the doll is not coincidental. It's the same name as the heroine of the poem Layla and Majnun, written in the 7th century by Qays ibn al-Mulawa. In these verses, the poet describes his own tragic love story. He was so deeply in love with Layla that people started calling him Majnun, which means mad or possessed by genies. Because of this nickname, Layla's father refused to give his daughter to him in marriage, marrying her off to someone else, even in another city. The poet, completely crazed, retreated to the desert where he inscribed his immortal poem on rocks and sand. It concluded with the words,
I passed by this town, the town of Layla. And I kissed this wall and that wall. It's not love of the town that has enraptured my heart, but of the one who dwells within this town.
Due to the impossibility of being with his beloved, Layla soon dies shortly after her wedding. Majnun comes to her grave and also dies of grief. By the way, unlike Layla, Barbie dolls have been banned in Iran since 2012 as a bad example for Muslims, although the kind of passion seen between Layla and Majnun has not been observed between Barbie and Ken. And lastly, a controversial study about the Barbie doll. In 2005, the University of Bath conducted a study in English schools that uncovered a peculiar psychological phenomenon. Many girls between the ages of 7 and 11 who participated in surveys and owned Barbie dolls experienced a stage of hatred towards the famous doll even before starting school. They would microwave their Barbies, decapitate them, cut their hair, and even throw the dolls out of windows. In the movie Barbie, this dark side of girls' lives is reflected in the character of the weird Barbie, who has become a meme herself. But there is yet another even weird thing associated with Barbie. She is the first doll in the world to have her own wax sculpture. The wax Barbie is displayed at the Grevin Museum in Montmartre, Paris. The tradition of creating wax figures originated in medieval Europe. Initially, wax figures were made when a king died. The figure was placed on the coffin, and attendants could see the deceased king. The Westminster Abbey houses a vast collection of such funerary sculptures. Numerous mystical artworks have been inspired by wax figures coming to life. The first horror film featuring wax figures, Waxworks, was made in Germany back in 1924. The question of whether the wax sculpture of Barbie comes to life remains open. And with that, my story has come to an end. Until we meet again, Wanderer.